Fantasy football junkies. You are tuned in to the #1 source for fantasy prognostication. It's Testosterone Fantasy Sports with your hosts, Jeff and Jesse. So listen up. Here's your chance to gain the edge over the competition and dominate your fantasy football league. Every week we break down all of the matchups and tell you who to play as well as who should ride the pine. This is the joint that every fantasy junkie needs, so check it out! Crack, crack, boom, fantasy junkies, you're tuning in to Testosterone Fantasy Sports, the #1 fantasy sports prognostication show here in the local Twin Cities market on cable access. Jeff and Jesse in the house, rocking this thing we love to do. Jeff, it's great to be back. I'll pass the mic to you at this point. Let your voice ring clear.
Yeah, well, this is a great show that we do, and I'll tell you, Jesse, I'm super happy to be here. This is like my favorite day of the week when we come together. We do the work and we put the setup and you know, the NFL season is totally in full swing, so there's a lot of excitement. It's been going so quickly, and I don't know, I'm just happy to be here, man.
I couldn't be much happier either. The junkies that tune into the show out there on a weekly basis, last week, everybody noticed I wasn't able to be here.
Yeah.
I've been taking a little bit more of a backseat approach this season, put in a little bit more time in on the home front with my wife and just really making sure that whole situation is on lockdown. But, you know, it's always such a pleasure to be here doing the show with you, man. I mean, this is season number 4. The junkies expect it, and really, not only is this show fun to do, but it's so much more fun to do when the Purple are winning.
I know, man, I know. Well, let me just take a second to tell you that I know you become a little bit more of a backseat driver this year, and you're doing a great job of kind of letting that go. You know, I know it's a little emotional for you at times.
Little bit.
But, you know, like you said, it is much nicer when the Purple are winning. And we got a nice victory here last week, and we're looking toward a big game here coming up against the Lions there in town, and it's just things are looking up for us. Adrian's about to come back, and I think that could be good. Yeah, so I'm excited.
And I mean, the positivity really got started a couple weeks back when we played host to the Oakland Raiders. I was here on this very set 3 weeks ago, just kind of, Jeff, being a little bit pessimistic in all honesty, worrying a little bit that this team might be bordering on the brink of implosion after that terrible loss to the Packers. I got to admit, my Purple heart was crushed by that one. But now here, a couple wins in a row. Last week's win kind of coming out of nowhere. Realistically, the Giants were a team that had really played some good ball throughout a majority of the season. But, dude, 4 interceptions by Eli Manning later, 3 defensive touchdowns. And, I mean, I hate to mention it, Jeffrey, but people are using the P word. They're talking playoffs. That's crazy.
Well, I'll tell you that that's a very exciting concept, Jesse, and that's something that gives me, you know, a lot of good feelings in my heart. You know, I'm a little bit worried about, you know, getting too much too soon with that.
Of course.
And so I think let's just beat the Lions and then let's talk, because if things swing our way within the NFC, that's not quite as potent as the AFC, I think that there's a good chance, you know, for the road to open up for us. But it all starts with beating the Lions. It's a super big divisional game. They're the next step on the ladder, and I just think it's super important that we focus on our opponent at hand and really go into this game with a nice game plan. And I'll tell you that I was against the Giants, I was very pleased with kind of the way that Tavares Jackson broke out of his shell a little bit. I really liked watching him run the ball some, and then he was throwing the ball well. Nice connection with Sidney Rice. I know they only hooked up 3 times, but when one's a 60-yard bomb, does it really matter?
Exactly, and especially to start the game, I really, really have been critical of head coach Brad Childress right here on this very show from time to time, but Childy has done an excellent job over the past couple weeks coming out with big plays deep down the field with some trickeration in certain situations, and I really like that balls out mentality that we've been playing with, the reckless abandon. And Jeff, it kind of comes across in the scoreboard when you really notice a team going all out, not playing conservative, not playing close to the vest. It kind of reminds me of the way Philly played on Sunday night against the Patriots. And really, our team right now plays its best ball when we're playing with all the chips on the table.
Well, I'll tell you, it seemed to me like the defense really stepped up their game against the Giants. I thought we blitzed a little bit more, and it was very effective against Eli Manning. Obviously, his worst game of the season. And when your defensive line is kind of dominating the way that they seem to be, it made things easier for the secondary. And the secondary really ramped up its game too. And I'm really impressed by that because it was all still without Antoine Winfield.
Right.
So we're waiting for you to come back, Antoine. We can't wait to see you back out there. But I know it's with the hammy. You know, you got to kind of take care of that. And those can be really pesky. So at this point right now, I think going into the Lions game, we look really good matched up with them on defense against their second, third, and even fourth wide receivers. I know they like to run a spread a little bit, but I think the Lions are going to really try to get the ball to Calvin Johnson because I think they love the matchup between him and Cedric Griffin.
Yep.
And we also saw Kyle get really targeted a lot in the Thanksgiving game. So to me, I think that's a major matchup.
Yeah, I really agree with you. I mean, Calvin Johnson, there are some rumors floating around out there that William Clay Ford, the owner of the Lions, went to his head coach and said, look, I'm paying this rookie all this money, get him the ball. Now, the coach has come out and refuted that, but it certainly shows up in the stat sheet. I mean, Calvin Johnson has taken a major step forward here. He will draw, in all likelihood, Cedric Griffin, and Griffin has played well at times, but really got turned around on a couple plays last week against Plaxico Burress. Now, Burress is not his healthy, normal self. He's got that ankle bit. He was able to play at a high level in spite of it earlier in the season, but he's kind of fading towards the end. But nevertheless, I'm definitely a little bit concerned. Our passing defense has played above its average over the last couple weeks, and the Lions really know how to throw the ball here.
Yeah, well, you know, on a fantasy standpoint, I really like our defensive play this weekend against the Lions. I think we could have a pick. John Kitna, when he gets rattled, tends to just kind of throw the ball out there. And, you know, Calvin Johnson, just to get back to that for a second, had a touchdown against Cedric Griffin in the first time that these two teams played at Ford Field. And I think that they're going to try to do that again. Hopefully, Cedric Griffin, who's faced a number of good, talented wide receivers, has learned a little bit since that first meeting, and he should be able to amp up his game a little bit for this matchup.
The other thing I really like about our defense here, Jeff, is the fact that our pass rush is definitely coming around, and no quarterback in the league has been sacked more times than John Kitna. We can remember all the way back to Mike Martz's days, with the Rams. He spreads the field out. He only has usually 5 linemen in for protection, and right now the Lions have a lot of problems along their offensive line. They've moved a guard out to play right tackle, and there's a little bit of tumultuousness to that whole situation. I think we're going to be able to get in Kitna's face. Of course, we stuff the run because we always do, and I don't feel like I'm drinking the purple Kool-Aid here, man. Like I really think that we match up well against the Lions. We missed a 50-plus yard field goal in the first one that, doinked off the upright. Otherwise, we would have got a victory down there. I think we run it to 3 in a row here, man.
I think there's a good chance of that. I'm hesitant to get too excited, but it's important that we match up, with this team and have a high level of energy. Apparently, Adrian's going to play in this game, and so we should have a dual-headed attack there at the running game. I think Adrian will get, kind of eased back in a little bit. Probably on the fantasy field, it's a good idea to rest him, but how can you when he's such a good prospect? He's got a big brace on that knee, and they really want to protect it. So I wouldn't be surprised if he only carried the ball 12 times.
Right.
But with Adrian, 12 carries at 6 yards a carry is not bad.
Right, and I know that you and I play each other in the Tough League. We've got our Tough League trophy right here on the set for the first time. Jeff is the reigning champ of the Tough League. But you and I square off this week, man. You've got Chester and AP. Are you going to start them both? What would you advise to owners out there in that situation when they have both guys? Do you roll them both out against the Lions?
A fairly favorable matchup. I really think that the Lions believe that if they can stop our rushing attack, that they can win this game. So, and it's obvious that, Tarveras has taken some time to develop. He's doing a nice job. If he gets a run going, I think he can beat that. But they're going to come to stop our rushing game. So I don't think that we're going to have the great gaudy numbers that we had a little bit more like last week against the Giants. And if we win, it's going to be because of some good defensive plays, some turnovers that we make, and maybe a special teams move or something.
So you still think Chester is the play for fantasy?
Well, it's going to be tough. It's a true committee here now because Adrian's hurt, So Chester's going to run hard. Adrian's going to run hard. I think those guys could each get a touchdown, but I would say they split 150 yards in the game.
Well, when we were down at training camp at the beginning of the season, we noticed a lot of different packages being installed in this West Coast system where Chester and AP were in the game at the same time, and we really liked that because, I mean, frankly, these are our two best playmakers, and I'm really hoping that the early season injury that Chester suffered, and then the injury that Adrian has, those injuries are the reason I believe why we haven't seen those types of packages involved, and I'm hoping that Brad Childress comes out with some wrinkles here where Chester's getting split out wide, and are they handing it to AP or throwing it to Chester, or AP's getting split out to wide? Are they going to throw it? I want to see a mixed bag of tricks here a little bit, and I believe that one of these guys is going to score at least once because I think we're going to win, and I think it is also possible in my mind that both of them get in the end zone. So it's a dicey spot for fantasy owners, but from a Vikings perspective, I want to see them used in an inventive way here.
Yeah, well, definitely I would think that protecting Adrian's knee is of the utmost importance.
Right.
So to me, that means you want to restrict his lateral movements a little bit and let him go up the gut and try to churn for some tough yards and get the 3rd and 1, and know what I'm saying, and the 2nd and 5 up the middle, and then you can build a play action off of that. And I would love to see, a dual backfield with those guys back there, a play action pass fake to Adrian with a pass out the outlet to Chester and see what he can do on the corner when you put the defense collapse in the middle of the field.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be great.
It's been a great turnaround for the Vikes over the last couple of weeks, and it's also been really good for me on the fantasy wagering tip. I've got a couple of Lions fans that I work with that I'm giving a shout out there, Matt and Dustin. I took them to the cleaners last week, Jeff. These two guys just moved here from Michigan. They were willing to put $5 a piece on the fact that the Lions were going to win on Thanksgiving Day. I took their money there. I got them going in a double or nothing this week. I got the purple. They're taking the Lions. I think they're going to each owe me a 10 spot by the end of this week, but that pales in comparison to the other bet I'm about to win, and that bet is with Yeastie. So by the magic of television, right now we welcome Yeastie to the show. Yeastie, what's up?
Hey, what's up, fellas?
Not much, man. Look at that. Like a genie out of the bottle. The yeast appears before us.
That's the quickest I've moved ever since, the only time I've ever moved quicker is when there was a buffet around.
Here, let me get this out of your way, man.
Well, you may as well. It's going to be over here this year.
Oh, so there's the prediction by Yeastie. So. Jeff is the current champion, but there's a good chance that out of the 4 teams in our tough league, in the playoffs, there's a real good chance that the 3 of us here on this panel will be 3 of those 4 teams.
Well, at least we're the 3 highest scoring teams in the league, which is, one of the most important things. So I've had a little bad luck and some bad coaching in certain points, which I've ranted about on the website as well. But
what do you do?
Hey, as long as we all 3 know that we have solid teams, at least we didn't trade Cedric Benson or Adrian Peterson for Cedric Benson.
Sorry,
like
John.
Somebody else in our league did.
Sorry, John. But the reason we wanted to pop you on to the set right here is just to revisit the bet that you and I had preseason, Yeastie, during the middle of the purple segment. You called out the purple, said they weren't very good, and at times I must admit that I was doubting my squad.
Yeah.
But we put a lunch bet on the total number of wins the purple would have. You gave the purple 5 wins.
That is correct.
I gave the purple 8 wins.
That is correct.
And so now we've crossed the threshold where they have 5 wins. So if they lose out, I got to buy you lunch.
So where are you going to take me?
That isn't going to happen, my friend.
Right. But so then if we lose out, God forbid, then you'll take him to Jack's Cafe.
So he owes me lunch.
I owe him lunch. I owe him lunch $20, around $20. We said.
That's a formidable lunch.
And if they finish with 6 or 7 wins, the whole bet is off.
That is correct.
But if they finish with 8 or more wins, then you have to take me to lunch.
Yeah.
So looking ahead at the schedule, I don't know, 3-2 down the stretch seems kind of doable, man. So I got my appetite up, man.
How about if they finish 6 or 7, then you both take me out to lunch?
That would be like big money to try to weasel in on something like that.
Exactly.
But you know what? Honestly, if they finish 8-8, then I'm happy. I mean, I would be happy. I mean, being around. Obviously, I'm a Browns fan, but being around you guys and being around the purple as much as we are, you can't help but root for the home team. So, and I'm an Adrian Peterson fan. I'm a huge Adrian Peterson fan. So, wanting him to be a Brown, I just hate to see him succeed for another team when I knew he was going to pop like that, anyways. But you know, it's hard not to root for this team. So if I lose the bet, you know what, so be it. At least I don't get lynched whenever I'm walking around in Plymouth, you know, people flipping me the bird and everything. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're going to flip it back to Alex, our director in the booth. We're going to take a brief break, and we will be back just after this break. We are going to start to break down all the matchups. Week number 13 is here. We thank you for joining us, and we'll be back right after this Testosterone Fantasy Sports. What's up, fantasy football junkies? It's Jesse. You checking us out behind the scenes on the set of Testosterone Fantasy Sports, the #1 fantasy football show for prognostication in the Twin Cities area on cable access. You want to make sure you check out our website as well while you're here looking at the show. Go online, testosteronesports.com. There's so much stuff on there for you content-wise. You want to see the rankings, you want to see the writers' pages, but above all, you want to see this video content that we put out there updated on a weekly basis. So if you missed the show, check it out online at testosteronesports.com.
Hey everybody, we'd really like to thank all of our supporters. We here at Testosterone Sports put a lot of effort into the production that we do on a weekly basis. Go on there, specifically come onto the Fat Chat. You get a chance to interact with all of us, with other people around the Twin Cities. We just love fantasy football, and it's something that we do on a regular basis, so check it out. Join with us to win in your league. It's something we love, and we just appreciate everything that you guys do to join in to be the 4th member of Testosterone.
Can't get enough of the yeast or all these guys. You have rants and raves you want to read. Check out our writers pages on the website, testosteronesports.com. I go off on a weekly basis. Jeff brags about how good his team is in our league. Jesse has some crazy stuff on there. There's a guy named Will who drops some things I can't talk about on television. Check out our writers pages, testosteronesports.com, for a little more of the yeast.